Peace and love, family. So I have a little bit of good news for you, but I want you to take it with a grain of salt. Because here's the thing. Elon Musk is propositioning Donald Trump. Now, Donald Trump indeed will get rid of the black, the government behind the government. He will indeed clean house. This is what he's going to do. It's known in the Hope Eve prophecy. You're going to see that in a second. Okay, which is really just in time travel to the future. Today, time travel. Okay? This is just being honest with you. But let's talk about this. Because I'm pretty sure common sense would tell you that if Donald Trump falls to his proposition, and the proposition is, to be exact, that Elon Musk is trying to come at him with a business proposition. The business proposition is simple. It is that, well, Mr. Trump, if you get these robots, you can go ahead and have all these robots work for all your companies and other companies. Or B, they can buy some of these robots. This will take away more of y'all jobs. They cost a lot of money. And don't forget they malfunction and kill people. But of course, Elon Musk is not going to talk about that. Hopefully Donald Trump will research and see that. Donald Trump, remember, is a businessman. And as a businessman, you make businessman moves. He is not a person who would typically have led his country. However, we need to start thinking about that because the United States is in fact indeed a business. So now, however, Donald Trump is going to end that business. How is he going to end it? Because he's going to end this place known as America. How is he going to do that? He's going to end the corporation known as America. All right? Now, what Elon Musk's proposition on what is saying that these robots don't get tired, don't get sick, they don't call in sick, they work faster, they work harder, they get stuff done. You get more production done. You won't have to pay these robots. However, I'm pretty sure there's some upkeep and some maintenance. Things break down, and of course they malfunction. Just when they malfunction, they kill people. Hopefully Donald Trump finds that piece of information out. We're going to find out how good of a businessman Donald Trump is, because he is indeed a good businessman, but how good a businessman is he? So now I'm getting ready to show you this good news, but before I do that, let me add in the fact that Russia has tanks that are not manned. All right? They make decisions on their own. Then you have other places that have small drones, not manned. They make decisions. Okay, you see where this is going? And then you have other countries that, like China, also that has small boats that kamikaze themselves into other boats or has arms on them and fires, shoots at other boats in war times. So people are literally all over the world handing AI all the weapons that they would possibly need to take over cities one by one. Literally. And it's bad. And so I have shown y'all my last video before last. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. That Elon Musk is showing off his AI robots that he has ready. They were ready before, 2 days before Kamala Harris had the race that they were going on. So they had everything set up, okay? Not to mention that there's still Chinese and Russian soldiers in the United States right now and living in some hotels, and Arabic soldiers in hotels, some places in New York and so forth. Not forget that they have some of these Arabic terrorists, Taliban and all that, which is actually run by the corporation, and which of course we're turning on the corporation now though, and gated communities such as Quincy communities, the gated communities and so forth. They're very nice communities and white neighborhoods. So you have to remember that this stuff is all in play. They wanted to do a shutdown. They're still talking about how they cannot do a shutdown. That's been on the news, if you haven't noticed, for the last couple of days. And don't forget, a lot of banks closed, and a lot of people that own a lot of these banks, that own, we all know, same folks that own the banks, the same folks that's doing behind the scenes on the low run of the country, that you call the deep state, shadow government. All right. So with all this stuff in play, and there's more, I decided just to stop there. with all this stuff in play. Oh, and let me just add one more thing. And they did take out a lot of their stocks and bonds. Literally. So this tells you that they basically was trying to make, and they still trying to make it crash. They're trying to find a way, the United States, Trump right now is trying to find a way not to let it crash so they don't get what they want. Now, Elon must be smart enough to know that he might figure a way out. Grain of salt again, my people. However, remember, he still has a proposition plan. If Trump is a very, 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 very smart businessman, he will see what's really trying to be done, and he'll say no. If he's not a smart one, he is actually a good one, but if he's not a very smart one, then we have to worry about the fact, that they're going to go ahead and try to. So, with that said, let's move forward.
When arrives, he will remove his mask in the village plaza. Hey guys, Dabu 7. I want to share with you guys here some interesting knowledge about Hopi prophecy and what they call the Red Hat people and its connection to Donald Trump. Now, this deals with what they call the Great Shaking of the World, and that's symbolized largely by World War III. Now, the Hopi call for this Red Hat or Red Cloak people to show up and their leader to lead this country through a time of great purification. Now, the Hopi say that when the iron bird flies, there would be a time where planes are in the sky. It says that these red-capped, red-robed people will appear. And it speaks of this leader of them being called the Bahana, or Pahana, the purifier, aka the true white brother, will come to the Hopi land. They say that his ancestor of light complexion gives him the name, the great white brother, and they consider him to be an earth keeper or a supreme servant.
Nobody said something. You understand about the tall whites. The tall whites is like skinny brother.
Of the Most High. They say that once this blue star Kachina, as they call it, arrives, he will remove his mask in the village plaza during a sacred Kachina dance. Now, some people have often connected this blue star Kachina to a physical star, although the Hopi say this represents a spiritual person or being, an entity. And they celebrate this in their ceremonies. So apparently these Kachina spirit messengers are to show up toward the end, and all these different things were supposed to go down before it happened, including an object falling from the sky, which they said happened in 1979, and it burned blue as it fell as well. Now, there's all kinds of different opinions connected to this, but one thing that stands out symbolically is that the hat itself signifies authority, and the color often represents the rank of a person in a particular organization. You can look around the globe and you can see this also connected to the Catholic Church and Freemasonry in terms of the red caps and things like that worn. Trump, coming from a background here connected with this, wearing this red hat, they say in this day and age, they haven't seen a leader of this country step forward with a red cap. And this is what's very important, is this great purifier is supposed to be the leader through the time of purification in North America. It's what they call Turtle Island. The Indians called North America Turtle Island. So this is not going to be a red cap leader of another part of the world. So, very interesting connections here in the fact that they made this such a thing, and it's out there big time right now. At a time where we could be on the doorstep of World War III, time of purification. A lot of thoughts connected to this. I thought I'd throw it out there and give you guys some of this information.
Play on this, right? I just want to say to the people out here, right? that are stating that Trump is a savior, that Trump is here to help black people or so-called black people, you have been successfully programmed. If that's what you believe, you believe that any of the complex cell organ.
Don't you think Trump has another agenda too? And you should not think that Trump is actually trying to help our people per se. He's trying to help the white people. I don't see him trying to help our people. It's just that him cleaning up a lot of stuff is going to help our people by giving them more time to get out the way. That's all he's going to really be doing. And he's not doing it on purpose or being violent, because he's on a mission to try to clean up what's going on for his people, not our people. Get it right.
Is doing anything to directly benefit our species, you are absolutely out of your mind. These people are in survival, and they have been in survival mode since their existence. These people are looking to survive this reset that's taking place. If you listen to what I'm getting ready to play to you from Donald Trump, it sounds just like John F. Kennedy. Those that have forgotten their past are deemed to repeat it. Look in your pocket. Look at the currency in which we use to pay for the natural resources on the planet. Fruits, vegetables, water, shelter, all of this grows from the earth. No one is creating that in a lab. All of this grows from the earth, and someone created a monetary system off the resources of this planet. All of this stuff that naturally is given to us, we have been abused, mind ripped away, and we have been now tricked to believe that we have to pay for the natural resources in order to live. Well, as we paying for these resources, we're doing nothing but existing. That's it. So when you look at the money, it says Federal Reserve Bank. That's not America's money. That's someone over America that is lending America money so America can operate, so it can function. Federal Reserve Bank is on your money. So when you're listening to this speech, you can pull up John F. Kennedy's speech, his last speech, or the speech that supposedly got him killed, when he was speaking about shadow governments and how they look to infiltrate and control the people of America and censor information, controlling your media. Because all your major news outlet, all your media outlet, 98% of them and everything that you see on TV is ran by the fake royal family and their bloodline. The moon people, their royal family, all of them, that bloodline controls 99.9% of what you are putting on the TV, on the radio, in your environment. So how is he going to tell people that we're going to cut? You're going to tell the Federal Reserve, I'm going to cut your funding to these institutions that are carrying out the bidding of my creator. And I want to make the American people believe that I have the power to do that. Listen to this crap here. Sounds just like John F. Kennedy.
Furthermore, when users of big online platforms have their content or accounts removed, throttled, shadow banned, or otherwise restricted, no matter what name they use, they should have the right to be informed that it's happening, the right to a specific explanation of the reason why, and the right to a timely appeal. The censorship cartel must be dismantled and destroyed, and it must happen immediately. And here's my plan. First, within hours of my inauguration, I will sign an executive order banning any federal department or agency from colluding with any organization, business, or person to censor, limit, categorize, or impede the lawful speech of American citizens. I will then ban federal money from being used to label domestic speech as mis- or disinformation. And I will begin the process of identifying and firing every federal bureaucrat who has engaged in domestic censorship, directly or indirectly, whether they are the Department of Homeland Security, the Department of Health, Human Services, the FBI, the DOJ, no matter who they are. Second, I will order the Department of Justice to investigate all parties involved in the new online censorship regime, which is absolutely destructive and terrible, and to aggressively prosecute any and all crimes identified. These include possible violations of federal civil rights law, campaign finance laws, federal election law, securities law, and antitrust laws, the Hatch Act, and a host of other potential criminal, civil, regulatory, and constitutional offenses. To assist in these efforts, I am urging House Republicans to immediately send preservation letters, and we have to do this right now, to the Biden administration, the Biden campaign, and every Silicon Valley tech giant, ordering them not to destroy evidence of censorship. Third, upon my inauguration as president, I will ask Congress to send a bill to my desk revising Section 230 to get big online platforms out of censorship business. From now on, digital platforms should only qualify for immunity protection under Section 230 if they meet high standards of neutrality, transparency, fairness, and non-discrimination. We should require these platforms to increase their efforts to take down unlawful content such as child exploitation and promoting terrorism, while dramatically curtailing their power to arbitrarily restrict lawful speech. Fourth, we need to break up the entire toxic censorship industry that has arisen under the false guise of tackling so-called mis- and disinformation. The federal government should immediately stop funding all nonprofits and academic programs that support this authoritarian project. If any U.S. university is discovered to have engaged in censorship activities or election interference in the past, such as flagging social media content for removal of blacklisting, those universities should lose federal research dollars and federal student loan support for a period of 5 years and maybe more. We should also enact new laws laying out clear criminal penalties for federal bureaucrats who partner with private entities to do an end run around the Constitution and deprive Americans of their First, Fourth, and Fifth Amendment rights. In other words, deprive them of their vote. And once you lose those elections, and once you lose your borders like we have, you no longer have a country. Furthermore, to confront the problems of major platforms being infiltrated by legions of former deep staters and intelligence officials, there should be a 7-year cooling off period before any employee of the FBI, CIA, NSA, DNI, DHS, or DOD is allowed to take a job at a company possessing vast quantities of U.S. user data. Fifth, the time has finally come for Congress to pass a digital Bill of Rights. This should include a right to digital due process. In other words, government officials should need a court order to take down online content, not send information requests such as the FBI was sending to Twitter. Furthermore, when users of big online platforms have their content or accounts removed, throttled, shadow banned, or otherwise restricted, no matter what name they use, they should have the right to be informed that it's happening
the right to a specific explanation of the reason why, and the right to a timely appeal. In addition, all users over the age of 18 should have the right to opt out of content moderation and curation entirely and receive an unmanipulated stream of information if they so choose. The fight for free speech is a matter of victory or death for America and for the survival of Western civilization itself. When I am president, this whole rotten system of censorship and information control will be ripped out of the system at large. There won't be anything left. By restoring free speech, we will begin to reclaim our democracy and save our nation. Thank you, and God bless America.
Those that have forgotten their past are deemed to repeat this. This sounds like the speech that got John F. Kennedy killed. So just understand, I'm not wishing any death. I'm not calling for violence or any of that. Just understand and understand that this is not about some democracy. This is not about some specific landmass. This is about the genetics, the genes, the mind of the so-called black woman and her creation, her sons, her children. This is what this is about. This is not about no resources. This is not about no democracy. This is about genetics. This is about a group of people that were genetically modified and engineered and created on this planet to do the bidding of species that are sitting in the shadows that we genetically created to put us through the ultimate test. Can you get water? Can you get water to let oil come in between it? Can you teach water to hate itself so much that it allow oil to come in between it? Can you get grass and trees to dislike each other? That is what this test was about. Can you get grass and trees to believe they are something else other than what they are? That is this test. And you have to ask yourself, how did you do on this test? What did you do in the Earth School? Did you pass this generational curse down to others? Did you look down on your brothers and sisters because they didn't achieve the success that their slave masters, their former abusers, physical abusers, and now psychological abusers have set out for them, have compartmentalized for them? Are you looking and judging your brother and sister and children through the eyes of a complex cell organism, an organism that was genetically modified and created in a lab and was put in front of you to do some of the most dark and inhumane shit while their creators sit in the shadows and play a certain role on the planet to you? See, that sounds like more realistic about what's taking place on the planet and what's going on with so-called black people versus the fake war up in the heavens above your head versus what's on your shoulders, the head that's sitting on your shoulders, the heaven that's sitting on your shoulders. You see? Those that have forgotten their past are deemed to repeat this. This is beyond the Great Reset, my people. This dark age right here will last beyond 500 years. And to sit there and think that this man has the ability or the power to shut down institutions that were put in place by their creators in the first place. Transgender, hormone blockers for children, DHS, social services, censoring account. You understand? Fake accounts. You sitting there thinking that he is going to stop something that was put into place by his creators, with their creators' income at that, with their creators' financial structure at that.
Here's the thing. Like I said, Trump is being represented by the tall whites, who is one of his creators. They are fighting reptilians. Not saying either side is good. Let's not trick ourselves. All they are doing, or he's doing, by having this fight with them, because that's what they're doing. That's what him and his buddies are doing. is giving us more time because they're focused on them. Does not mean that either side means to help us. It just means you have a little more time to get out. All right. So would they allow him to do certain things? Yeah, to a certain extent, to get rid of all the reptilians and the government that's been placed there that they don't want there. So possibly they could place their own people that they want in there that will do the job that has blood ties, blood relations to the tall whites to start making everything better again for the white people. You see? So you have to understand what's really going on. He's not going to help our people. That's not what's going to happen. Some folks don't know everything. And again, you're all piece of the puzzle. Hold on.
We have, based on a moral principle, I'll develop some disease. Like I told Barack, if I reach something where there's a fundamental disagreement we have based on a moral principle, I'll develop some disease and say I have to resign. We don't have that. We haven't, and we discussed it.
That is my question. I'll start with you.
Joe Biden's been a phenomenal president. He's lived up to so many of the promises he's made. There's one promise left that he could fulfill, being a transitional figure. He could resign the presidency in the next 30 days, make Kamala Harris the president of the United States.
Whoa.
He would absolve from being able to from having to oversee the January 6th transition, right, of her own defeat. And it would make sure that it would dominate the news at a point where Democrats have to learn drama and transparency and doing things that the public want to see is a time. This is the moment for us to change the entire perspective of how Democrats
Okay, this has now jumped from an internet meme to a Sunday morning show.
Jamal's out here right now.
Congratulations.
Season of House of Cards.
I thought you were going to say, what about the Supreme Court? That's also out there.
What happened this week with the election result not only changes everything in America, but changes everything in the Middle East.
Trump is at Mar-a-Lago, making calls to lawmakers and allies. Elon Musk and Robert F. Kennedy Jr. spending much of the day yesterday with Trump. Sources tell ABC News Musk and Kennedy are involved in meetings as Trump prepares to build out his cabinet and other top positions. Trump and his team are also preparing possible executive actions he could take on day one. Sources familiar with the planning say they're focused on Trump's top campaign promises, including launching mass deportations and tariffs on foreign goods.
We want to have borders. We want to have security. We want to have things be good, safe. We want great education. We want a strong and powerful military, and ideally we don't have to use.
We have seen one estimate that says it would cost $88 billion to deport 1 million people a year.
I don't know if that's accurate or not.
Is that what American taxpayers should expect?
What price do you put on national security? Is that worth it?
Is there a way to carry out mass deportation without separating families?
Of course there is. Families can be deported together.
You will send Donald Trump back to the Oval Office to liberate the United States of America. The occupation of our cities by migrant gangs will be over, and Americans will be in charge of their own country once again.
Top of mind for defense officials here who we've spoken to, of course, is how Trump is going to wield U.S. military power here at home. Is he going to make good on his previous pledges to potentially deploy active duty U.S. troops to American cities to engage in domestic law enforcement and to help with his mass deportation plan? That is something that officials here have been discussing in terms of how they would actually respond to that. What would a response look like if the president were to actually order active duty troops to these cities to engage in this kind of domestic law enforcement? And if he did, a former senior military official who served under Trump said that that would be very significant. It is not something that the president would be able to necessarily water down to the American people. It would be, quote, a very big deal. And another thing that officials here are gaming out is, of course, what is going to happen if Donald Trump reinstates an executive order known as Schedule F, which would essentially reclassify a large amount of apolitical civilian employees across the federal government, including here at the Pentagon, and allow them to be more easily fireable. That is something that defense officials here are scrambling to address before he enters office, trying to kind of whittle down the list of people who would be at risk of being moved into that category, because, of course, they're trying to create, as minimal of a a disruption as possible to the day-to-day operations here. But clearly they are concerned. They're having these conversations about whether there would be resignations, for example, if an unlawful order were issued, and importantly, what the chain of command would look like if Trump did issue that kind of order to deploy those active duty forces.
It can't be stressed enough. The Biden-Harris administration devoted much of its energies for the last year in trying to get regime change where? In Jerusalem. They did everything they could, from Chuck Schumer to Kamala Harris to all of them. It was about trying to get Benjamin Netanyahu out of power. If the White House in the last 4 years, and particularly in the last year, had spent 1/10 of the time it spent trying to get regime change in Jerusalem onto doing regime change in Tehran, the mullahs would have fallen by now. The threat in the Middle East, the intransigent part, is not Netanyahu. The intransigent bit is Hamas and its backer, Iran, the Revolutionary Islamic government. They're the ones that are still holding Americans hostage. They're the ones who are still holding more than 100 people hostage in Gaza. They're the ones that refuse to have a ceasefire. They're the ones that have refused every ceasefire negotiation for the past year. The war could have been over a year ago if Hamas had given up. Instead, it has been decimated. Hezbollah is being decimated. But the crucial thing is the head of the snake. The head of the snake is the revolutionary government in Iran. It's now naked. Its air defenses are taken out. It's the Iranians' turn to do the tit for tat now to Israel. If they do, when they do, the response from Israel, I hope, it doesn't need military backing, but with the agreement, with the approval of the United States, the response of Israel this time should be to take out the nuclear reactors, take out the oil fields, topple the regime, as far as I'm concerned. That is the thing that is stopping peace in the region. If you get rid of the mullahs, you can have a peace deal across the whole region. The Abraham Accords could even include Iran at some point, and even the Nobel Peace Committee should recognize that.
Well, I think, look, it'd be great to have local law enforcement assist ICE because, one thing we heard during 9/11 report was we should have stovepipes. Law enforcement should work in law enforcement. But, there's two things. Number one, under President Trump, he was suing the sanctuary cities, DOJ suing the sanctuary cities, pulling federal funds. Of course, day one, when Joe Biden came in office, he stopped that lawsuit. So that has to be put back in place. And look, I've seen some of these Democratic governors say they're going to stand in the way. They're going to make it hard for us. Well, a suggestion. If you're not going to help us, get the hell out of the way, we're going to do it. So if we can't get assistance from New York City, and we may have to double the number of agents we send in New York City because we're going to do the job. We're going to do the job without you or with you. But it's much easier to arrest a bad guy. Like I just said, we're concentrating on public safety threats of human and national security threats. It's much easier to arrest a bad guy in the jail. Give us access to Rikers Island that we've been kicked out of. Let us get the bad guy in the jail. It's safer for the alien. It's safer for the officer. It's safer for the community. But if you want to release these bad guys, out in the community, then we're going to have to go find them, which puts the officer at risk, puts the community at risk, and puts, and bottom line is, sanctuary cities are sanctuaries for criminals. And the left keeps saying, well, we want victims and witnesses of a crime to feel safe, come to the police department knowing we don't work for life. Let me make one thing clear. That's just a stone cold lie. Victims and witnesses of a crime does not want the bad guy back in their neighborhood.
That's true.
Yeah. Certainly. And most the illegal immigrant community, they broke the law being there, they shouldn't be. However, after being there, they're God-fearing family people. I get it. Do they want a serial predator in their neighborhood? Do they want someone convicted of DUI 10 times in their neighborhood? Let us protect not only the American communities, let us protect the immigrant community. Who's the victim of MS-13 crime?
Yeah.
The immigrant community.
Yeah.
So, if sanctuary cities don't want to help us to get the hell out of the way, we're coming.
First of all, your comments are disgusting. I've served my country. I've served my country for 34 years.
I find your comments
this is out of
disgusting
control.
as well.
I've served my country for 34 years. And yes, I held a 5-year-old boy in my arms in back of that tractor trailer. I knelt down beside him and said a prayer for him because I knew what his last 30 minutes of his life was like. And I had a 5-year-old son at the time. What I've been trying to do my 34 years serving my nation is to save lives. So for you to sit there and insult my integrity and my love for my country and for children, that's why this whole thing needs to be fixed. And you're the member of Congress.
We agree on that.
Fix it. We agree on that, but I disagree. But I also disagree with your characterization of immigrants as criminality for 3 decades on this.
So the recommendation of the many that you recommended family separation,
I recommend a zero tolerance.
which includes family separation.
The same as is with every U.S. citizen parent gets arrested when they're with a child.
Zero tolerance was interpreted as the policy that separated children from their
If I get arrested for DUI and I have a young child in the car, I'm going to be separated. When I was a police officer in New York and I arrested a father for domestic violence, I separated that father
Mr.
from his
Holman, with
family.
all due respect, legal asylees are not charged with any crime.
When you enter the country illegally, it's violation 8 United States Code 1325.
Seeking asylum is legal.
If you want to seek asylum and go through the port of entry, do it the legal way. The Attorney General of the United States has made that clear.
Okay.